Love is not this amalgamation of just feelings. It's a constant choice that we choose each day, teeters along this edge of hurt. There's so much that fiction has to offer you rather than these wholehearted, fully emotional embraces. Black male narrated portrayals of love and tenderness is pretty rare. I was constantly searching for something to make me feel like this, to make me feel seen like how I did in this book. But
Henry Christian Jones.
And a new series came out for that one.
Wealthy or to prosper.
hi, my name is Joshua. I make book content and I brought 5 books with me today. These are the 5. Got Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson, All About Love by Bell Hooks, Pretty Little Angels by Vincent Anioke, Assembly by Natasha Brown, Tiny Things Are Heavier by Esther Idasanchi Okonkwo. Assembly by Natasha Brown is a book about social mobility and Black women within the corporate world. It starts off with our main character as she moves into her world in finance and then looks into her life, her partner, and her everyday life as a banker. It explores what social mobility looks like and this quest to reach the middle class and what that means for someone's psyche, their well-being, both physical and mental. Perfect Little Angels by Vincent Anioke is a short story collection mainly set in Nigeria, focusing on masculinity, love, what is expected of us. The main question that resides around this being what or conditional love looks like for us all. All About Love by Bell Hooks focuses on love in all its forms, romantic, platonic, familial, and just teaches us about what may be overlooked, whether it be the gender expectations, the societal expectation, but also what this looks like in places where you may not look for it, whether that be the workplace, walking down the street, and what love expects from us and what we must look to do to apply ourselves to it. Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson is a love story set in Southeast London and follows 2 characters who bond over their connection of having gone to private school and follows their love story throughout. You see depictions of masculinity, love, identity, belonging, as well as the undertones of what life is like as a Black man living in London. The Tiny Things Are Heavier by Esther Idasanchi Okonkwo tells us about love, belonging, community, and immigration, and what is lost within this. We see our main character go through trials and tribulations as she moves to America for a master's program and looks to find herself both in career but also in love, and follows these romantic relationships after she moves, having seen her brother attempt suicide. And throughout this story you get this underlying depictions of what life is. Your identity is split between 2 places. As a man, you're asked to love as a sense of duty rather than an emotional one, in the fact that you are told to do things by what is seen as what's honoring someone, whether that be a partner, family, or friends. It's not seen as this emotional thing where you need to devote yourself to someone's emotional needs, whether that be being a source of comfort, but also a source of vulnerability. In this book, Bell Hooks tells you that you can't have one without the other. I think in that sense, you sort of see how love is not this amalgamation of just feelings, but it's a constant choice that we choose each day. People speak about this dichotomy between love and hurt, as that is these 2 mutually exclusive things, that for someone to love you, they should never hurt you. But I think that in our lives, it doesn't work that way. Our worst relationships, which would be family, show us that love kind of almost coincides with or teeters along this edge of hurt. In this way, when we look at love and hurt as these things that are completely separate from each other, we try to sanitize the sense of what love is supposed to give us. I think that love is much more than these happy sunshine and rainbows and all of these, but love is much more complex than that. There is a lot of hurt that we don't typically associate with love. Look at what hurt is and what that brings to love. I think that Bell Hooks talks a lot about this in that book, where she sort of speaks about the fact that in love, it requires a lot of vulnerability as well for both people. As I've gotten older, I think some of these things may have been lost on me, and I was kind of taught that in romantic relationships anyways, that there is this need to kind of be this stoic, nonchalant person, or I guess like this emotionless rock that is able to be just like a steady person for your romantic partner, especially in heterosexual relationships. And I think in that way, it kind of molded the way that I looked at love. And I think for a lot of men as well, in that we may not feel that we're able to get the same levels of vulnerability, or may not be able to open up in our certain ways to our partners, and leads to these connections that feel very vapid or surface level, rather than these wholehearted, fully emotional embraces that I think love should feel like. Black male narrated portrayals of love and tenderness is a pretty rare thing to have, especially in the Black British context. I know that after I read Over Malta, I was constantly searching for something to make me feel like this, to make me feel seen like how I did in this book, but I've yet to find it. And I think especially in the way that Caleb approaches love in this book, it feels like mundane is so beautiful. You see how the tenderness is between these two, I guess, almost star-crossed lovers. Tenderness doesn't come without its challenges. When you expose so much of yourself to someone else, there's bound to be these certain points of conflict. I think vulnerability can feel like pulling out teeth for a man sometimes. I know for me, I definitely struggled with the idea of just showing parts of yourself to partners and friends. I feel like in that way, vulnerability can feel like generally the most scary part about relationships. I think there's a lot of, in like Black masculinity, a lot of it comes with a lot of suppression in terms of wants, desires, needs, in things that are not seen as typically masculine. There needs to be a more collective and shared openness amongst us. If that starts with our friends and then builds into our relationships, or maybe we take some of that vulnerability that we show to our partners and we extend it to our friends. The way I would sell this book is, have you ever just wanted to be sort of seen, I guess, in like your fullness, like your whole self? I guess, what does that look like when you embark on that journey with another person? Success has looked like a multitude of different things to me at different stages of my life. I think at uni, it felt like getting a first class. At some points, it felt like getting through the day. I guess long term, it feels like hitting those targets or those goals that you set for yourself. Successful looks like for me is contentment. A lot of us were taught that once you make it, that is like the be all and end all. Once you reach that pinnacle, once you reach the top, that will be what you need to be like the last missing piece of the puzzle to feel like you're fully yourself and your self has been actualized. And in reality, these external things to ourselves aren't what it really means to, I guess, be seen and to fulfill like this ideas of self-actualization. I remember seeing this video and they spoke about how grief is not this thing that you just get over, but it's a thing that constantly you hold with you, and then it gets easier each day to hold that baggage. And I guess for some people, the baggage can become more bearable and quicker, and other people can feel like it's almost a load too heavy to carry and they never feel the same again. Grief has been this sort of very avoided thing where I try not to conceptualize the idea that this person is gone forever, or it may take the form of make it. And there's like some like humorous comments just to make me avoid the reality of the situation. I can't separate my sense of self or my identity away from family expectations, no matter how much I like it or not. There is a separation between how I am myself or my identity and who I am, but that always works within the context of who my family have, I guess, molded me to be or allowed me to be. Over time, I've progressively become much more confident with decisions I make as a person. It's like my parents aren't going to live my life. It's like I have to deal with the consequences and the realities of the decisions that I make. And I think as I gained a more full sense of self and who I wanted to be, the type of person that I wanted to be, it allowed me to be more comfortable with disappointing certain people. The first book that I'd recommend to someone who doesn't read and wants to try and get into it would be Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. It's a book that explores so much in so few pages and kind of feels like the first installment of Food in African literature. I think the Mandem should read these books because there's so much that fiction has to offer you. I know for me, it offered me an idea that there's a plethora of different worlds and kind of ideas that you can explore in fiction. It feels like it doesn't seep into your reality, but it allows you to explore the idea that you can do this or you can do that or you can be this certain way and it won't feel like generally the end of the world. I think as well as that, just being able to explore lives that are different to your own or different ideas that you may have never thought of is something that I think is so important for us to look outside ourselves and I guess to empathize and to see different people that we would never interact with and how an author is able to just do this in the thick of a page. At this stage of my life, sort of in my 20s, I think open water really is sort of center stage in what I relate to, being that like I'm sort of this black man in London trying to find myself and what love looks like for me in that space as well. Not trying to center that too much, but also I guess the duality of wanting to find love, wanting to start a career, wanting to do all these different things and have these different experiences while also balancing just the, I guess, traumatic experiences that can just happen every day in your life. I feel like open water allows me to feel seen in like the most mundane parts of my life, or also like the things that just feel like psychological warfare. I feel like it has all of those things for something, and I guess has expanded my toolbox of things that I can do or could be. I think I would say that a lot of people feel like reading has to be this thing that you've picked up earlier on, that's something that it feels like this monumental task to finish a book and you feel like you have so much pressure to just finish this book like so quickly and just to like constantly be at it. But I know when I started, I hadn't picked up a book basically like since primary school. I was like 19 and I thought, what can I do in my gap year? Let me pick up a book and see how this goes. And since then I fell in love with it. It's the idea that there's a book for everyone. I think two people's book collection that I'd like to see is Vince Staples and Paul Gilroy. I think just because I was literally just watching it, I'm curious to know what Vince Staples reads because I feel like his music, especially now, is like very political, and I'd like to know like what the foundations are, this kind of intersection between music and politics. But I guess also Paul Gilroy, he's sort of putting the foundation thinkers in Black British thought, and I'd like to see what that collection looks like and whether I can pick any of those books up to be just a little bit smart each day. I'm Joshua and you've been watching What's the Mandem Reading. You can follow me on my socials, TikTok and Instagram, Richard Bird, Jeffrey Adoni, and hope to see you guys.